You
pictures.
always look smack.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You looking at my nose?
No. No.
See, I'm wrong.
Ew.
You know what the fuck she says to me? Hi. Like this fucking nasty, weirdo, timid ass. And I'm just like, I lose it. I'm out of here. They knocked the lights and they just.
Cool. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What's your name?
Josiah.
How old are you?
26, going on 27.
Okay. So tell me, who are you on a soul level?
Soul level. If I was to pick like a, I don't know, like a role in that lane, in that vein, I guess, it would be like a guardian. Tend to counsel people, people come to me for advice and whatnot. I protect people and I try to nurture people that I care about, the few, but
A few.
the few, yeah.
Does it ever take a toll on you, looking out for everyone else?
Yes, it's a heavy toll. It's something that I had to work on and put a lot of work on, and I still am working on it to this day. As far as balancing myself amidst trying to help everybody else, because the people that I have stepped in for or tried to help have been in like dire straits, like situations where I wouldn't wish on anybody, my worst enemy, and then his mental illness thrown in there too a lot of the time. And you get lost in other people's issues and you kind of lose sight of what's going on with you, and on top of that, it just takes a toll on you dealing with so much despair, because I'm not talking about people that just like, need general counseling. I mean people that are like in drug-addled homes and surrounded by sexual violence and brought up in that and no help. And I mean, everything's a setback. Their whole surrounding is a setback. It's just like abject poverty and like non-existent work conditions, living conditions, just terrible. Like this is like real life for a lot of people. Not like I work in counseling, but this is just people that I've met along the way that are good people, that aren't getting a chance by any other means a lot of the time,
So, are there any life events or major happenings in the world or with you personally that has affected your ways of thinking or processing things, like making you a caretaker, making you somebody that, looks out for people?
Everything. I mean, I internalize everything in that way, kind of like, how am I receiving this and how am I going to put this energy back out? But as far as one particular event I think I attribute a lot to is my cousin. And he was my mentor, and unfortunately he's no longer with us. But for the time that he was here, he did everything in his power to make sure that I would be something, and that was at a time where it was a lot of people, very close to me that were telling me the opposite, that I wouldn't be nothing. And that wasn't, at the time I'm just a young black man, like I'm fresh out of high school and college. The money isn't there. This is something that a lot of people go through. I got accepted to a real good school and a real good program that didn't want to pay me real good money to do it. So I'm at home trying to figure out something else. While I'm at home working odd jobs and trying to put myself through school, it looks bad, It doesn't look like I'm instantly a millionaire like they tell you the whole time you're growing up. Like you're the smart kid in class and whatnot. So naturally you're just gonna figure something out and be like, Dexter's Lab, like you just things magically pop up because you're intelligent, right? That's not what happens. You struggle like everybody else. And during that period, it was me against the world, except for my cousin, and I mean, it was anything I needed. If it was a school that I was gonna go apply to, he would drive me up Pennsylvania, wherever it was, way out of the way in the winter and the cold and whatever. If it was money for books when I'm trying to put myself through school, he was there, and he was unwavering. He had a lot of his own demons to battle at the same time, but for me, he would step outside of everything, you know, and seeing that and somebody being the sun to me, you know, and giving me that warmth and that light, showed me that you can do that and pass that along, you know, like, cause I don't know, he saw something in me where he always knew that I would be something, and so he did everything in his power to make that happen, you know. And so for me, now that I'm doing things as an adult, I have a lot more agency to step in. You know, it's funny, growing up, I'm not trying to be too depressing with this interview, but like growing up, I remember being so poor and so broke, like I'm doing this odd job waving a flag at a parking lot, right? We used to, I laugh about it now, but like I had like $40 in my bank account. I was balling, you know, and I used to go buy my boys pizza, like with my $40 in my bank account, like we all eating, you know, because we was all so poor at the time. Like it was just like any little thing was huge. And now I look now and it's like people that I know that go through these same struggles is like laughable to me when they have issues where it's like, I don't have $20 and it's going to ruin my life is over for this $20. And it's like legit a situation. Now I had the power to do for people what my cousin did for me a lot of the time, you know? Like a smart trip card. It's something as simple as like transportation, things that people don't have access to in poverty, you know? And it's like that era is over for me now, you know, like money isn't as much of an issue. Now it's a matter of trying to use it to make more. And because of that, I just think it's funny to look back at those situations. But now that I have the power and now that I have, you know, the peace in my, at least in my space, to be able to operate a little bit more. Yeah, I've made it, unfortunately I made it over, you know, a kind of an excessive habit to help at times. But, I don't know, I think the world is better off for, you know, paying it forward, you know, at least for people that you know are going to go turn around and do the same thing, especially, you know. Yeah.
Good answer.
Okay, that's a long answer. All my answers are going to be long, so.
Just letting y'all know now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, I mean, I know this is going to be long. All right, there's 3 categories.
Yeah.
They all have nothing to do with each other and everything to do with each other.
Yes.
So the first category is love, sex, and relationships. Mm-hmm. The second category is society, culture, and politics. Mm-hmm. And the third category is spirituality and religion. Okay. So which one of those groups of things means most to you and which means the least and why?
Okay. The second group out of that,
society, culture, politics
absolutely is number one for me. It means the most. And as anybody that knows me knows that I'm like huge into politics, not like red versus blue necessarily, but society and the bigger picture. Like the bigger picture is always what I focus on. I can't really see things for like the small intricacies. It's always how the bigger picture is swaying those small interactions that people have. And the second one is, you know, I mean, no, the second one is the most important. The first one, the love, sex, and relationships and stuff, that's cool. The third one, it's real. Nah, the third one is the one that I don't really care for. And I say that because I really feel like the third one is kind of a byproduct more so of the second, you know, society and politics and you said culture? Mm-hmm. It's just like religion is largely in part of it's like a byproduct of what culture you're from. This is something that kind of drew me away from like a specific belief system when I realized that I was born in the one that I was raised in. You know, I was born into Christianity, like fundamental Christianity, where there's like nothing else is true, period. All that other stuff is goofy. You know, don't worry about, you know, let's make fun of other religions or non-religions, whatever, what have you. We have the truth. But in realizing that I was born into that, I thought it was, you know, disingenuous for me to assume less of anyone else because other people, other places were born into their belief system or their lack thereof. So who am I? You know, this is me in middle school looking out the window in the middle of the night, you know.
In the middle of the night?
Yeah. This is what we had, you know, we ain't had cable. But, just thinking like, who am I to be so arrogant to assume that the truth that I inherited was the only truth, right? So everybody kind of is born with their own truth, and it's like in this world you really have to navigate tolerance and being able to coexist with other people's truths. And so from that perspective, I backed off of, that kind of conviction behind any kind of beliefs. And it really has become less important, less and less to me as I grow and realize that I'm not going to sit around. Like, I rarely pray for anything. I pray when something's truly, absolutely out of my hands, But I got hands, I got feet that work. I'm blessed enough, Real shit, like, people, I know Jasmine cussing in hers or whatever, but I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum, but people have the means to handle so many situations, and yet it's like, let's just leave it up to God. And then that also ties into society, because of course my answer is going to be long. It's going to go on and on. Think of like a predicament that we were placed in. Like, this is like meta, but like black people being here and being placed here in America under duress and despair, right? Of course, in that setting and all of this tumultuous change that's forced upon us, right? We have to cling on to something positive, because nothing tangible is positive. Very easy for us to accept a doctrine in which everything will be all right as long as we play nice, right? So here we are, saying to ourselves that God is going to deliver us, and that, there's a heaven after this, and consoling ourselves within the context of the disparity, the despair in our situation. Society and, what's the goings on of the current day are going to inform what people are willing to believe religiously. A lot of things in the past were left up in the air. The sun looks like a deity to somebody who doesn't know what the sun is, The moon, it's just things that we can naturally see and attribute. I still look up at the sky and see clouds sometimes, like, yo, that looks heavenly, right? Like, it just looks like, it looks divine. In my heart, I see it and feel that way. It's clouds. It's water. It's like, it's clouds. But it's not like I'm not diminishing that when I say that. It's gorgeous. It's just that it's so easy for us to, without the knowledge that we have today, to look at everything and try to explain it away as something greater than ourselves. And it is much more vast than ourselves, just as individuals. It's just that all of that plays into it. That's why I say that's like the least to me, the religion and spirituality.
Someone says love, sex, relationship.
No.
You think statistics, and you think reproduction, and you think let's get in a barn.
I overthink it because that's what I'm drawn to. That's why, like, society and the big picture is always my thing, because it's like the big picture, there's always so many different things to think about. How am I going to sit around and think about love and sex and relationships? That's all it has to do with stuff I have control over directly for me,
Yeah.
So it's not as interesting, because it's like, yeah, I'm going to just maintain. Like, if I'm confronted with any of those situations, I know what I'm about. But when it comes to, like, the world at large, it's hard for me to be in the moment, even in them settings, like in relationships.
Okay, so you then, individually, don't talk about the world, since we can't speak for the world.
Okay, can't speak for the world, but for me, for those things, I got an interesting history with love and whatnot, and it's really informed who I am today in many ways. And sex is just sex. People overblow it tremendously, like, but it's odd, because it's like, it's so much emphasis on it. They even advertise with it. I remember watching a fucking Taco Bell commercial where it's like the girl's like moaning, eating this fucking gordita crunch. And it's like, for real, like, she's like going at it, and like all the dudes in the room just staring. Like, you can see that they're like really driving this home, that she's nutting off of this gordita crunch, And like, I'm not trying to like be stupid about it, but for real, it's like, it's so ingrained in everything. But at the end of the day, I think about it this way. It's literally just, and this is going to sound kind of gross, people are rubbing genitalia together. That sounds kind of gross. It sounds nasty when you word it so robotic, like an alien sizing us up from another planet. Oh, they're rubbing their genitals. Like, but just real shit. It's just that simple. And yet we govern ourselves and have so many, like, and that sounds kind of creepy. I just want to reel it in a little bit after saying that. Like, we have so many different things that we govern ourselves with and about towards this very simple transaction, to the point where it's like people can sell it. They can sell this simple thing. Like, everybody's born, for the most part, with these parts and with these desires or whatever, what have you, flip it, flop it, however you want to do it. And yet it's just like, I don't want to go into another long rant.
Okay.
So, especially about that.
So that's how you feel.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's not, it's
time
not
to
me.
create.
Right. Here's the pad.
Cool.
Here's
Yay.
the markers. I think, yeah.
Okay, so pick a color that represents you.
Blue.
Pick a color that represents your mood.
Blue.
Pick a color that represents your life.
You know what I'm about to choose. Listen, everything is blue. Everything in the world is blue. Blue is the most important color.
Why?
Not because it's my favorite. I really feel like it is. The night is blue. The day is blue. The sky is blue. Not just for naming things and saying that they're blue. When I listen to music and I really enjoy it, I see the color blue in my mind. You know what I mean? It's like blue is such a rich hue. Red is just so yeah, whatever. Red is so I repeat. It's just a powerful color that is kind of like, I don't know, and it's a harshness to it. Blue is cool, it's soothing, and everything good is blue pretty much, Weirdly enough, social media sites use blue because it keeps you awake for some reason. Your brain responds to it. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of social media sites will throw blue and stuff in there, so you binge on them and be tired as fuck the next day. I'm gonna use a few blues, I guess.
What is social media to you? As you're struggling to get these markers out.
I'm just trying to choose which blue. There's a lot of good blues. Fuck. Social media isn't much to me. It's just the avenue by which I can see jokes. That's really that's as far as it goes for me. I am an old man. If anybody can't read that yet from this interview, that's me all day. I'm gonna get this blue too. I like those.
Show the blues that you chose.
I like navy blues, ashier blues, because natural blues aren't always so super bright, but this kind of looks like the sky a little bit, I think, to me. But in social media, to me, for my personal use, is just memes, and people are really funny, so I enjoy, like, seeing people's humor, especially about, like, everything's kind of like an inside joke on the internet, but as for, like, the world at large, I have a spiel about that. It's harmful. Really, actually, it's not all bad, but the bad isn't being accounted for yet, because it's like a new version of human communication. If you wanted to be anonymous, like 50 years ago, you could make prank calls, and then they'd star 69 to you, and then you were in trouble. Like at worst, in the days of letters and carrier pigeons and shit, you have to wait months for the gratification of trolling somebody with anonymity. Here, today, in this day and age, everyone is constantly using an avatar to express a version of themselves, if they're even attempting to express themselves. It is a completely new version of human communication, and you can see the ugly that comes from it with like incels, if anybody's familiar with that, or just any medium that radicalizes people who are disenfranchised in their day-to-day life. It's like, without the internet, none of these random white Americans would be rushing to join ISIS. You know what I mean? There's a lot of harm that comes from people who are vulnerable, go to the internet for a sense of identity, and come out with horrible views that end up hurting people, or just completely alienating themselves from normal life. That's, on the scale that it is now, is completely new. And there's very little in the way of that propagating and continuing. Talk about Instagram. This is my least favorite of all of them. This is probably going up on there, so shouts out to Instagram, but
don't delete
y'all
my
do great
profile.
work. Yeah, no, don't y'all doing great work, But as far as the use, it's just vanity, and I'm not the type to harp on like one thing like that and just go ham on that, but it's out of control to the point where people are doing so much to appear and keep up with everything at once. Like, I mean, God, the makeup nowadays. And I'm not the guy that, every man in the world, I hate makeup, and they have no clue that they're looking at a fully faced makeup woman, across the table that they think is just naturally like that. No, she's wearing a little bit, and that's fine. But like, it's now gotten to a point where people are no longer accentuating their features, they're painting a new face on their face. And that's not the worst thing about, internet vanity whatsoever. I mean, it's people that are traveling all year. And there's people that I've known that grew up in the same poverty as me that got in a similar financial position that I'm in now. You're out of school, you're working. I didn't go to school, but military, whatever. But they're doing well for themselves, and every extra penny goes to traveling and taking pictures for Instagram so people can see that you're traveling yet again. Traveling is nice, but you really need to have something. I don't know. I see things a different way as far as how people are spending their money. But basically, a lot of what people do nowadays is so performative, and it's like, I have trouble living in the moment just as me, because I'm always thinking too much. But these people have trouble living in the moment because the moment is just for the picture, it's just for the gram.
What excites you more than anything?
I'm grumpy. Few things excite me. Very few things are like, oh my God, that's coming out. It's going to be so great. So like, if there's a video game that I like a lot, because I'm quiet, I'm to myself. So video games is an activity that I took very well to, because, I'm just minding my business. I'm just in the house. So, and that's what like, it's for real. Like, people get so mad because kids is like playing video games. They're like, yo, outside, like if I was to go outside when I was growing up, you know how many people like, one of my friends, of course I'm not gonna say no names about this one, but he killed somebody. 14 years old, he just shot him in the head. Like, he killed somebody, not just because he was outside, but that was the type of shit that was outside. My mother hated the fact that I was in the house playing Mario Party 2. Like, like, I'm playing Mario Party, like playing the mini games over and over again because I don't have any other games and shit. Like playing the mini games alone. But you're mad at me for playing, like, and outside is like heroin needles and condoms hanging off of fences and like kids shooting kids. It's nuts. And thinking it back. Tekken, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about Tekken. Nobody wants to hear about that. Some new characters came out real recently. Some of my old favorites. Just briefly. Let's touch on it briefly. Some new characters that used to be my favorites when I was a kid. They came back out. I was super excited. I was living. I was hyped.
Make a face that explains you. If you were in expression, what would it be?
It would be a snarl.
Make the face. What? Make the face.
I can't right now.
Yes, you can.
I'm in a light mood. I'm drawing clouds.
You have to do it.
I got a few clouds on the paper now. How am I supposed to be like?
Think about something that makes you the angriest at any time.
But that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I feel. Is grumpy. Even if like I'm sitting here, it's because I'm in good company. Even if I'm sitting here and like you can see, I'm chilling. I'm in my element. But
try.
The second I leave here, I get like 10 minutes down the road. It's gonna go back. I'll send you a picture. Like angry and like, like don't put that in there. My face looked crazy just now.
Habits.
If I'm talking on the phone, this is a weird habit. If I'm talking on the phone, I can't be watching anything. I can't be focusing on anything in the room. I'm either one, pacing back and forth, like constantly. It creeps people out because they're like, yo, this guy's making me nervous. Because like if you're sitting down minding your business and you got me 6'4", like not necessarily stumping, but whatever. Like back and forth through the room, just zipping around like a fucking pet, Like, it's odd. But I can't like be engaged in anything and on the phone. It's either that or I have to bury myself under the covers. Over and under the back of my head. Like, I have to like reduce all stimuli around me, period. I just have to like put myself in like a time chamber. Like, I don't know. ADD. The other weird habit is, and some people know this, but a lot of people don't, I can't eat without a drink. And I drink constantly as I eat. Like, I can't, no bullshit. Like, I can't just eat dry. Like,
oh, yeah.
I'm not like, the food can't just be dry. It's got to be some water or some juice or something. And some people notice that. It's like, did you just bite that burger and then take an immediate swish? And it's like, stop paying so much fucking attention. How about that? Like, yeah.
So what's the craziest thing you've ever seen?
Almost got killed. I was guaranteed this is the craziest thing that pops up in my head just now. I was like 3 or 4, and I used to sneak out the house every chance I got, and I would get out because I grew up in a big household. I have 5 sisters, so with all of that distraction going on, and I'm the baby, I'm not in school yet. All of them sisters flying around. My mom, she'd be in the kitchen doing whatever. I used to be able to fit through the security bars. And, it's the summertime. She'll let the door open so we could get a breeze, no AC, whatever. I fit through the security bars, go out into the alley. One of these particular days, I seen the biggest rat I ever seen in my entire life. And I mean, this rat was like a Pokemon size. Like, it was like legit, like a creature. It wasn't just, it was bigger than any possum I ever seen. It was like one of them rats you see on the New York, like we found this in New York, and it's like a giant fucking rat on a pitchfork, like. The rat wasn't what almost killed me though. It was the police officer shooting at the rat. Like, I walked out the back door. I'll never forget this, because I'm a child, but like when you get shot at as a child, I don't think you really forget it. I really didn't understand what was going on, but I saw the bullets and I saw the stance, And I mean, his reaction when he saw the big ass rat was natural. I have to kill that rat, But he didn't know it was a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever, walking past looking at that big ass rat. Like, as I'm walking past. So as I'm walking through the alley, going somewhere I had no business, walking to somebody else's house that I barely knew, that like my family was familiar with, that was just going to turn me around or bring me back home, he's shooting at this rat. And I'm seeing the rat get shot. Like, he's hitting the rat, thank God he ain't me, but I'm behind the rat. Like, and it's like bullet holes popping up in the rat, like the rat is getting shot. Like, and the rat isn't stopping. The rat is so fat and huge that he's like moving like slow like that, right?
Oh my God.
And then like he's getting shot and he's just still like, and it's like bullet like pow, 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 like it's nasty, but he's not fazed because it's a rat. I think that probably takes the cake. I think that.
But one thing you have to say to the world in one sentence.
I think the most important thing for the world is your emotions aren't valid. Your emotions are not valid. That sounds hilarious. That sounds hilarious. It does, but I think that's an important lesson that people need to know, is that acting out of emotion, voting out of emotion, deciding out of emotion is dangerous. People operate off of emotion, and emotion is harnessed and is used to take advantage of so many people in so many different facets of life. People's resentments towards other groups, or people's emotions toward whatever. You can assign it. I mean, you can just paint that broad across any issue that you're dealing with right now. People's emotions are being harnessed to work against them and against the betterment of people in general. You have to stop. The world over really has to stop acting out of, with emotional response, not being robotic. That's not what I'm encouraging. Just understand that your emotions aren't a valid excuse to harm, and your emotions aren't a valid weapon to be used against anyone. Period.
When you put it like that.
Yes. I mean,
that makes sense.
Yes. I mean, maybe it sounds crazy for me to encourage people to just be robot. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you can feel these things, but at the end of the day, it's information coming to you that you have to internalize, digest, and operate with afterwards. If you're doing so with emotion, and by that I mean anger and fear and just like these knee-jerk fight or flight reactions to everything, and that could go small or major issues, you're predictable. When you're predictable, you're a number on a sheet of paper. Don't be a number on a sheet of paper, So that's my...
Well, thank you so much. They didn't see your arm.
They didn't see my arm, but
you're... Bye.
Okay. Like, these are bad. I can't even draw like a round cloud. So this is shameful. My father's a muralist. My sister's an artist. Like, my family is, they're art people. I should have just drawn you. I'm better at portrait shit. You would have been blue. Real shit. But this is Josiah, and I'm in the flesh.
Ouch.
Cut that out too. All right. We good?
Yeah, we straight.
All right.